we're very happy to announce that after 53 years, we have reinvented our low-speed concrete grinders. We've eliminated the wood wedge tool mounting system and have added many valuable features. And that's really what we're here to highlight and point out today in our presentation. So in order to get an understanding of why the Edco grinder has remained virtually unchanged for so many years, we need to briefly start at the beginning, just a little history with the original grinder, basically circa 1959. You see that in front of you right now. That the grinder on the right-hand side, the yellow, was pretty much one of the very first. And those of you who have our grinders are familiar with it. It really hasn't changed much over the years. But it's important to understand that back in 1959, the only effective concrete grinding tool on the market was a grinding stone, a carborundum grinding stone. So with that being said, with that being the only choice, you could say that the whole invention of the Edco concrete grinder, or the grinder that was designed around that 2-inch by 2-inch by 4-inch stone. And that's important to understand. So as the grinder was being developed, designed, and built, we needed to figure out the most effective way to hold these stones in place. So you can't drill any holes in them and mount them with screws. They're stones. You can't attach them with a bracket. So you see the wooden wedge at the time was the only solution, and really a very ingenious solution at the time. So that's pretty much how that came about. With the stone was the only grinding accessory available, and the only way to mount that to the concrete grinder was with a wooden wedge. So now moving forward 2.5 decades, all right, diamonds entered the concrete cutting industry. And what I mean is the diamond blade. So Edco recognized that the diamond segments used for cutting concrete could also be used for grinding concrete. The diamond tooling, or the diamond segments that were used on diamond blades for cutting concrete, were smaller, had a much lower profile than stone, but they did perform, probably 10 times better than stone. So that was the dilemma, was how to attach these new diamond segments to our grinder. So what we ended up doing was we simply mounted the diamond segments to a plate, and then took that plate and segments and mounted them in a case. And this case was exactly the same size as those original stones, 2-inch by 2-inch by 4-inch, and we used the current system to hold them in place. And actually, we received a patent on that design, which became our Dymacerts, which many of you are familiar with, and we held that patent for 20 years. Now, in addition to the Dymacerts, we created other tooling at the time, such as throwaway scarifiers, strip certs, wire brushes, etc. And our most current grinding and stripping tool are PC Dymacert. But keep in mind, all of these, all right, were designed around a case that was exactly the same size as the stone. Now, here we are today. The diamond tooling industry has evolved in a big way. There are far more tools available now, diamond tools, to solve complicated surface preparation problems. And now with your Edco, the new Edco grinding system, you're able to utilize all of these wonderful and helpful tools that are on the market. So you're not going to be limited with this new system to just the Dymacert, strip certs, PC Dymacert, although they're still a very viable and useful tool, and they'll be able to be used on the new grinders. It also opens you up to many different accessories. So through the remainder of this presentation, we'll make a comparison between our old system and the new. This will help you understand all the advantages of the new system compared to what you may currently have. And I do want to point out one thing, one note. In no way are we discontinuing the old system. Over time, maybe, but for now, we will still offer and continue to support the existing grinders, as they are, and we'll continue to support those in the years to come. So let's go ahead and move on. What you see in front of you now is the current grinders, for those of you who are unfamiliar with them, and then the new style grinders on the right-hand side. So moving forward, we're going to try to do this with some video, okay? We're going to start out with the wedge system versus the wedge-less system. We're going to start with a video on the left-hand side here. Let me get that started. And as that starts running, I'm missing my arrow keys. There we go. Okay. You can see the system as the operator is installing these Dynacerts. It's kind of cumbersome. You have to take each Dynacert and slide it into a slot. You have to place that wooden wedge on the inside, and then you have to hit it really hard with a hammer and a punch. And we're going to let this run through because this kind of gives you an idea of how much time it actually takes to change these accessories. And that's been, honestly, one of the complaints over the years is that, these things take a long time to change out. All right. And I know a lot of you out there who have this are probably laughing about how many times you've done this and how difficult it is. But keep in mind there was a reason why we had it. I mean, it evolved from that stone, and there you have it. So that was actually edited some. It takes a little bit longer than that to actually change over accessories, but you kind of get the idea of what what's involved in that. So moving over to the right side, okay, here we are with our new wedge-less system. Let me get that going. And we're going to show you how easy this is to mount. These are the same Dynacerts. Although the Dynacert has been changed, the case on the back now has a trapezoid holder on the back. That's the only change. So those of you who have Dynacerts out there and you want to go with the new system, it's just a matter of replacing the case. And look how easy this is. They simply snap into place. And literally, I'm telling you, in 30 seconds, you can make a tooling changeover. All right. So you get the idea of what we're talking about when we call it a wedge-less system. Very easy. You see us snapping in the PC Dynacerts and the strip certs. Also lower profile diamond dots. And this is what I was talking about as far as the diamond industry evolving to allow you to, accept all of those accessories. So there we go. So that's really the first one of the major features of the new grinder is the wedge-less system. So we've done away with the wedge. And now we're going to move on to the next slide here. Like I said before, this kind of gives you an idea. You can still use the Dynacerts, the PC Dynacerts, and the strip certs. They simply mount differently. They have the trapezoid holder on the back. You can also use the double dots, the single dots for grinding, and also the PCDs, which the PCDs, by the way, stand for polycrystalline diamonds. If you're not familiar with those, these are diamond-tipped carbide cutters, basically. And they're pretty much the most aggressive accessory that we have in our grinder line right now. So if you have any type of really tough coatings, rubberized membranes, things like that, these PC Dynacerts will remove that. Now, in addition to what we have up here on the screen in front of you, really any accessory that uses that fairly industry standard trapezoid holder will work on the new grinder. Okay. Let's move on here. Our new grinder has a leveling system on it. All right, and I just want to point out, looking on the left here at our old system, and what we try to capture in that picture is that when our grinder comes out of the factory and you receive a new grinder and you receive a new set of Dynacerts, the grinder is designed, because there's no leveling system or no adjustment on the grinder, to basically grind somewhat on the heel of that accessory. And then, we always promote, rotating your diamonds as they wear. Because what happens is that grinds on the heel a little, it grinds the accessory a little bit uneven. You flip the accessory, it starts to grind more even, and as they wear down, you kind of come to center, and then toward the end of the life of that Dynacert, it starts to grind on the nose. I think you can understand what I'm saying there. Now with the new system, the new leveling system is not just a leveling system, it's also a height adjustment system, which we'll we'll touch on in a little bit. What it allows you to do right from the start, and as these accessories, whatever you're using, Dymacerts or dots or whatever, it allows you to make full contact, full level contact with the surface all the time. And that's really important because you get better life out of your diamonds. The diamonds perform much better when you have all of them hitting, at one time. And also, there's no longer the need to flip your Dymacerts or rotate them, all right? So very, very positive advantage, I guess, for the new system. All right, let's move on to the next slide. We changed the frame on the machine a little bit. You see on the left-hand side there, that is our standard grinder, the old style, and it's got a square gearbox design, and that's pretty much remained the same since way back when. We went with a new rounded gearbox design, and basically what that does, it allows us to grind closer to the wall, and you'll see when we talk about the shroud how it helps us with dust control. Want you to also realize that the internal components of the grinder have remained the same, even though we've reshaped the outside of it. The gears, the bearings, all those tried and true components that we've had since the beginning are all the same. So it still remains rugged. It still remains Edco rental tough. Let's move on here. We've also changed the shroud. We've gone away from the metal shroud that you see there on the left-hand side. All right. If you remember the old grinder, when we first designed it, and for many years it didn't have a shroud on it. All right. And then for safety reasons over time, it was good to put shrouding on that to protect from segments flying out and debris flying out. So we developed a metal shroud. Now this metal shroud has evolved also in that we added rubber skirting or a little rubber, I guess, brush along the bottom of it. And that was all through the evolution of dust control. All right, so just keep in mind the original shroud was for safety. We added the piece at the bottom for dust control, but it's really not the most effective way to control dust. Also, in order to adjust this shroud, all right, which you do need to do depending on what type of accessory you're using under the machine, in order to adjust the metal shroud, it was a 5-step process, and really it was a 2-person job. I mean, you had to loosen bolts, and you had to maneuver that thing into place, one person on each side, and then tighten everything back up again. Now, with the rounded gearbox, if you go to the right-hand picture there, you see that we've gone with a fully enclosed, rubberized Velcro shroud. And what this allows you to do is, one, you can adjust your shroud very quickly. You're going to see how important that is when we start talking about some of the other components of this height adjustment and leveling system. You also need to be able to adjust your shroud very quickly depending on what type of tooling you're using on it. This also allows for you to adjust the shroud all the way down to the floor to get the best performance on your dust collection. And we've also put the tab in the front where it comes together, so that it truly is a 1-person job as far as changing the shroud. Okay, so let's move on here to the next feature. If you recall, those of you that have our grinders, we had a rear flip wheel. It has a 2-axle position in the back, and the reason for that was that we had a grind position and a transport position. When you would flip the wheels up under the machine, it would give you a little bit more leverage to tilt the thing back and transport it. But it also created many, many problems in the field in that customers were unaware of the 2 positions, and many customers would simply grind in the transport position, and that would ruin your accessories. And so we basically did away with it. All right, it's something that we really didn't need. You can still transport the machine easily. One thing that we're not sure, we don't have a slide of, but we're also going to have a flip handle at the top of the unit that flips back. It gives you a little bit more comfortable grinding position, but it also aids in transport, getting the leverage to tilt the machine back and move the machine. I mean, that's a very minor change, but it's a very important one because over the years, I'm sure you've experienced it. You've sent your grinder out, and the diameters have come back completely worn out on an angle, and the customer has used the machine improperly. They've ground into transport position. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Just some additional benefits for the floor grinder. We kind of pointed out a lot of these. We do have that unique leveling system, laser cut weight tray, which I'll show you in a moment. The multi-vacuum port, which is up on the handle, which allows you to use the 3-inch or 2-inch vacuum hose. And we've also, the strong power source that really is reflective in our 2EC, our new electric unit. We are using a stronger motor, basically. It's still 110 volt, 110 volt, 20 amp. It's actually a dual voltage motor, so you can have it wired 220, I believe. But anyways, it's a torqueier motor, and it has a little bit higher RPM. Okay. So let's move on. All right, the unique leveling system, and this is really the essence of the whole thing, I guess. All right, and this is what allows all these wonderful things to happen. Our leveling system allows you to not only adjust for level, but you adjust for height. So you adjust the tooling height. Remember, the old grinder was designed around that 2-inch by 2-inch by 4-inch stone. All right, and every accessory that or tool that we developed for the machine had to have that same height. All right. Well, we have those, and then you also have all the other lower profile tools that are out on the market, the dots, the bars, the PCBs, the things that I showed you earlier. Well, you have to have a machine that will adjust for height, and we've done that with this system. It also adjusts for 100% tooling contact, and what I'm talking about there is this. We call this system leveling, but we don't want you to confuse it with the idea that you set this machine level and it's going to level your floor. That's not what we're talking about. It's a system that you set it level and all 6 of your accessories are hitting level on the floor, okay? And at the end, we're going to show you a little video how you can tell, that it is level just by looking at how it's grinding. You'll understand that a little bit better. So, but I just want you to understand it adjusts for height and it adjusts for tooling contact on the floor or the tool levelness with the floor. Allows for a wide range of tooling, and it truly grinds level. The level grinding is quicker, it's easier, and it increases tool life. We will also wanted to develop a system that was very operator friendly, that you could do all of your adjustments standing in the operator position. So you see that lever on the handle, it really is as simple as that. You install your tools, all right, you walk behind the machine, you unlock it, all right, you watch the bubble basically hit level and you lock it back into place, and then you're ready to grind. Like I said, we're going to show you a video at the end here that will bring this all together for you. So we're going to go ahead and move forward here. So laser cut weight trays. The weight tray in the past for the old grinders set all the weights out over and beyond the front of the machine. Okay, the weight, and it was an option. Right? Well, we've actually built weight trays into this new grinder, and these weight trays will accept 2 40-pound weights. Also in the redesign, we've shifted a lot of the motor weight forward, so you're getting a lot more weight over your tooling, or I guess the head pressure on your, per tool is much greater. They're mounted on the side, and of course the weights themselves are optional. But we have that both on the electric and gas machine. The multi-vacuum, whoops, let me back up here. 1 second. The multi-vacuum port, like I said before, it allows for a 2 or 3 inch hose. You can see that it's very unique. The 2 inch hose goes on the inside, and the 3 inch hose, if you have one, sits over the outside. You also see in the picture there the hose hookup, and that is simply for water, for dust control with a mister system that will help keep the dust down. And don't forget about our vacuums. We carry a whole line of vacuum systems, dust collection systems that are specifically designed for concrete dust in our machines. Moving on to the 2 power options, we've got the Honda engine, which used to be their 11 horsepower. I'm not sure what it's called now, but basically that's what it is. Gas, and we have our electric on the right-hand side there, you can see, and that is a little bit different motor than we had in the past. It has more torque, and it has a little bit more RPM. We also offer this in a propane version. Okay. Moving on. So let's go ahead and put all this together. I'm going to play this video for you, okay? And this kind of takes you through all of the features that we just spoke about. So let me get this going. And I'm going to kind of let it explain itself. You've got the locking machine in the place. You're tilting it back. You simply snap your accessories in. It truly is as easy as that. Shows the diamond dots, the lower profile diamond dots. And just notice the difference in height between them and the diamond inserts that were just put on there. So setting the machine back down on the floor, you simply unlock it. You look at the level that's on the system. You see how it adjusts for height and level. Leveled into place. Locking it. Attach your vacuum system. This is when you would adjust your shroud to make sure it's coming at least in close contact, almost contact with the floor. And you simply turn it on. Now we do recommend, all right, that you do a little test pattern, because that is truly level. That is all of your accessories hitting in what you see now when you get these half moon shapes. That's what happens when you grind when it's not level. And believe it or not, the old grinding system right out of the box with new diamond inserts tends to leave those half moon marks on the floor until it goes more towards center. So it's as simple as that, and I think that pretty much sums it up. I mean, it gives you the overview. It's really as simple as that. You're just locking the machine in place. For those of you who are mechanically inclined out there, that locking mechanism on there, it has a cable. There are many different adjustments that you can make to that. There's a lot of play in it. That's what I want to say. As it loosens in the field, the first adjustment you're going to make is right up on the handle, and there's a tremendous amount of adjustment to keep that tight. And then there's a lot of adjustment down in the bottom, and easy to access, easy to maintain beyond that. So let's move on here to the next slide. This is important, okay, and I want you to be aware of this. There are aftermarket discs on the market, all right, that claim that you can simply take this disc and mount it to an old, or to an Edco grinder, the old style, and use any accessory on it as you want. Well, that's completely false. They do not work. In fact, we brought many machines back into our factory here and had to repair them because of the problem that these discs create. I don't care what disc you put on there. If you're not adjusting for height and level, it's not going to work, all right? So there isn't an easy solution. There never has been an easy solution to the wedge system as far as something retrofittable in the field to what you already have. It really requires a whole new machine, all right? So beware of these products out there. They simply don't work, and I think that you probably have a better understanding now of why they won't work. All right, you simply put one of these discs on, and you put one of the low-profile products on there. The grinder is going to hit so drastically on the nose that it's going to wear the accessories completely out on one side, and it's going to cause so much vibration in the machine that there's going to be issues with the bearings and what have you. So they don't work. All right. It takes a new machine, and that's what we've created. But like I said in the beginning, the old machine is going to be out there for a long time. We're going to keep supporting that year after year after year. When you do decide to go with a new machine, you're not throwing away all your accessories. You simply replace your cases, which are fairly nominal fee compared to what the diamonds cost.
If we could go over all these accessories and what they do, what kind of
Sure.
application they should be used on.
Absolutely. So I believe everyone has that up in front of you. Let's start with the top left. That is what we call our Dimacert, and that is a segmented diamond grinding accessory, and that's what it does. It's best used for general smoothing of the concrete, grinding of the concrete surface, taking out imperfections in the surface. It can also be used for some coating removal, but only if the coating is very thin, and typically if the coating has started to come up in places, that's when you would use that Dimacert. So it's your actual concrete grinding accessory. Okay, this is a Dimacert. Moving over to the PC Dimacert, that is fairly new for us. We've had it out for about a year and a half now and have had great success. It's probably our most aggressive removal tool that we have for our grinders. Right? The two dots that you see there are polycrystalline tipped carbide, and then in the back is a stabilizer bar. All right? And what the stabilizer bar does, it keeps the polycrystalline diamonds from digging in too deep. But basically, they cut through coatings, and they also cut into the concrete. All right? So they do leave a fairly textured finish when you're done. All right? So that's what that is for, but it will remove some of the toughest coatings out there. Moving on to the right-hand side, the strip certs. The strip cert has a carbide cutting tooth on it. You can kind of see it. It's out toward the top end. It's a very sharp carbide cutting tooth. That is used for stripping materials off the surface. Basically, anything that you can scratch with a screwdriver or pick up with a utility knife, that'll take off the surface. But that does not grind. That just simply strips material off the surface. Glues, mastics, paints, things like that. And then down below there, the 2 dot and the 1 dot slide-on accessory, those are just general-purpose grinding accessories. Similar to the Dimacerts, but they're in the low-profile version. The 2 dots grind a little bit finer than the single dot. The single dots are more aggressive than the double dots. That's kind of a rule that we go by. And just keeping in mind that the 1 dot, you have more head pressure on that accessory. And then all the way out to the right, the PCD slide-ons, very similar to the PCD Dimacerts, except they're in the low-profile version. Once again, it's an accessory for taking off some of the toughest coatings, but you will, it heavily textures the surface. So keep this in mind, okay? It's not always one accessory for the job. Sometimes it's the grinder, but it may take 1, 2, or sometimes even 3 accessories to get the final outcome that the customer is looking for. Okay, just keep that in mind. Hopefully that answers the question. We also have this on our website. Also in our catalog, it gives you a really great description of what these are good for, all the different applications that they are used in. So take a look there also.
Okay. One person asked to find the difference between the Dimacert and the dots, which I think you just did, but for rental, are people renting dots?
Yes, they're renting dots and they're renting Dimacerts, okay? That's the short of it. They're not measuring. They're simply renting it based on a flat rate. renting the machines and then renting the Dynaserts or the dots. Certainly, we have more experience with the Dynaserts, the PC Dynaserts and the strip certs than we do the dots. As time goes on, we'll gather some more information and come up with some good rental rates. Sometimes you find, though, that the dots, especially the single dot, there is that fine line that it ends up becoming, they're not as expensive, and it becomes a fine line, and some guys are actually selling the single dots. But we always recommend that you rent them, and we'll certainly help you figure out how you can do that successfully. Right? And we do a how to properly rent analysis on all of our machines and all of our accessories. So whether you get it from us here in the factory or online, or you need one of our outside reps to come out and visit you, whatever it takes to help you be successful with it.
Next question is about dust control.
Yep.
And let me scroll up here. Attendee asked, the Velcro, would that come off when grinding dust gets in there?
No, it's a marine grade Velcro. The Velcro that is attached to the machine, that part of it, like I say, is marine grade. You can pressure wash it. The dust doesn't affect it. And then the part that's on the rubber shroud is actually sewn into the shroud. So very robust, very heavy-duty Velcro system.
Someone also asked about our dust collection systems, our vacuum systems.
Yes.
We do have a full line of those systems that go great with these machines. We also have a webinar that's available on our website and on our YouTube channel, Edco Incorporated. We did a whole webinar about vacuum systems in general. So if you need more information on that stuff, it's available for you online. Can you go over the new strip certs, the slide-on strip certs? They're now directional compared to the old ones. You want to explain that one?
Yeah, that is something that is different, and they are clearly marked. Because of the way they attach, the discs are counter-rotating. Okay, with the wedge system, they weren't directional because you could use them on either side. But with the new system, they are directional, but they are clearly marked, a left and a right hand. If for some reason somebody were to put them in backwards, they just wouldn't perform that well. It's not like you're going to ruin it, though. It just wouldn't perform, so they'd be, oh, well, you got them on the wrong side, switch them around. But we try to make that as clear as possible.
Again, two more questions about accessories. One asking if the different bonds and matrices will be the same on the new grinder. That's yes.
Yes.
We have the same Dynaserts, it's a new holding case. And then a question about the holding cases in general. If I understand it correctly, they're asking if the Dynaserts and the PCD certs go in the same cases as they do now with the wedge.
Yes, absolutely. The same case. It's basically the same case, but it's manufactured with that trapezoid holder on the back. And yes, the PCDs and the Dynaserts go in the same case.